Again, start of our 3-day crash course for office administration. We're gonna see if we can do the first 4 sections today, right? That would be office orientation, reception and hospitality, communication and meetings. We will take breaks periodically, so don't worry. And we'll look at some passive questions on these topics as well. So we'll start off with office orientation right off the bat, right? And the first place we look at is the office itself. Right? The primary goal of the office is the place where all business activities happen, right? It's the place that coordinates the business activities. And the goal of the office is to help achieve the mission statement and the vision statement of a company. So whatever the mission is, whatever they want to achieve short term, or whatever they want to achieve long term, the office is there to help facilitate that as best as they can. So in the office, certain activities happen. For one, there's data management. They collect data, they process it to see what the data is for, and bring meaning to the data. They store it, and then they'll keep it somewhere safe. So in some instances, they require is a legal requirement to keep the information. Or in some instances, they just keep it so they can use it to make decisions later on. That's one of the main things of officers, right? Data management. Collect data, process it, give meaning to the data, so they turn it into information. They store and preserve it. Another big thing they do is dissemination. Dissemination just means to send out or to share. So they send out information internally and externally. So they might send it to different employees, or they might send it to external companies or suppliers or government, customers, things like that, right? They also produce and distribute goods and services. As well, in some cases, they buy some as well. So they participate in trade. They create and distribute goods as well as they buy from suppliers. All of this is coordinated by the office as well. And all the managerial aspects, the planning, how we're going to do this, where we get the things that we need to do it. We control to ensure certain quality. All those things are done in the office as well. Ensuring proper records are kept, ensuring that everybody is working in accordance to the law. All these things are done in the office. So as you can see, the office is at the center of the entire business. Is where all the major things for companies happen. If they ask you in the exam, what are some of the functions of an office? Data management, dissemination of information, production, distribution, and exchange of goods, and management and legal control. Those 4 things. Everybody following so far? Everybody following so far? Yes, no, maybe. You're hearing me, right?
Yes, sir.
Just making sure. Anybody hearing anything we never heard before? Or everything is revision so far?
So far from me, sir, this is a revision.
Good. That's how it should be. Just making sure. All right. Then let's look at a quick look at how the size of the business could affect the office. So we're going to look at something called the organizational structure. The organizational structure represents the hierarchy of the business. It looks at the different ranks of different individuals in a business as well as who is responsible for who. The smaller the company, the more simplistic the organizational structure is. The larger the company, the more complex the organizational structure is. So it could be as simple as one owner and two workers underneath them. Or it could be as large as multiple departments. Each department have the head of department. And then it have persons reporting to that head of department. And then persons reporting to that person. And so forth. And then the office could be centralized or decentralized. Have you ever heard of centralized and decentralized before?
Yes, sir.
Just making sure. So when your office is centralized, everything happens in one place. So if you have any, for example, printing to do, any copying to do, any filing, all those things happen in one place. When it's decentralized, everything happens in different departments. So the production departments will be doing their own thing. Finance departments will be doing their own thing. HR departments will be doing their own thing. And that's how it will go, right? Which one do you think will cost more? Centralized or decentralized?
So you can repeat the question, please.
Which one do you think will cost more money? Centralized or decentralized?
Centralized.
Which one is said, centralized or decentralized? I didn't hear. You said centralized, right?
Yes, sir, centralized.
But if you think about it, right? If it's centralized and everything happening in one place, they only need so much equipment and stuff. But when it's decentralized, every department will need their own equipment. So that alone will cost more money. Every department will have to have enough space to have their own equipment. Every department will have to have enough space to have their filing and all those different things. So when it's decentralized, it will cost more. However, when it's centralized, you'll have to hire workers specifically for those jobs. So on the one hand, that's a plus because you'll be hiring people who skills are specific to those retrographics. But on the other hand, those jobs probably are boring, so they'll probably get bored after a while. So it have some positives and it have some negatives for both centralized and decentralized. before we go here, I'll mention the different departments just now. Is there anybody that can name at least 4 departments to me? Or 4 functional areas of a business? Maybe I should ask somebody specifically.
So human resource,
All right, that is one. 3 more.
Accounting, production,
Production,
marketing.
marketing. All right. And all of those departments in the school will have their own section in the syllabus that we have to follow, cover later on, right? What does the human resource department focus on? Anybody knows?
so that will be more of just want to make a sentence in order.
This is their main focus.
So I believe their main focus would be more the workers
Exactly.
and
Is it the workers, the employees? Who is the marketing department's main focus?
the public or the customers.
Right, the customers, advertising to the customers. What is the finance department's main focus?
Payroll and
But that is one of the
disbursement of
functions. But payroll and disbursement of funds, all what they have in common. Both of them deal with what?
money transaction.
Money. Right. So the finance department, their focus will be money. The production department or the operations department, what is their focus?
Products.
The products, very good. Procurement department. Anybody knows what their focus is?
Safety.
No, safety is another period. Anybody knows? It's a period. Their focus will be purchases. So when you reach the second half of the syllabus, all of those departments that we just called, you'll be looking at each of them in a lot more detail. Now let's continue looking at the office. Now we're looking at the design of the office. An office could have a traditional or a cellular or a closed, whichever you want to call it, system, or they could have an open plan, or they could have a virtual office. In the cellular office or the closed office, there's walls separating everyone. So people might have their own office and stuff like that, right? In the open office layout, there's no wall separating people. You might have cubicles or workstations, but everybody is sitting in the same room. And then the virtual office, kind of like the one we're in right now, we have no physical place. They work remotely. So which one you all think costs the most? Traditional, open, or virtual?
So traditional.
But traditional, everybody has to have their own office with walls and stuff. It costs more money, and you'll need more space, right? Which one costs the least?
Virtual.
Hmm? Virtual. I am paying $60 a month for Zoom. Think is there was around $60 a month for Zoom. And all of you are in my office right now. Definitely virtual, right? Where do you think sickness spreads the easiest?
So could you repeat that,
Open
please?
plan.
Where do you think sickness spreads the easiest?
What the last person just said. Open
Open plan,
plan.
right? Correct. Mhm. Where is hardest to supervise?
Virtual.
Hmm. It'll be between virtual and traditional, right? But according to the system you have in place, you could set up ways to view what the person doing on the virtual, right? According to what system you're using. Remember with traditional, I could have my door closed. I could be on TikTok scrolling. I finish my work long time, but pretending I'm still working, say when get my more work to do.
I don't know when something like that is when you just do so.
I teach her. I always have work to do. Maybe what I used to do.
Okay. Okay, sir.
Which one you think have more security between the traditional and the open?
The traditional.
Because I can lock my office. Which one have more distraction and noise?
The
Which one
open
you
plan.
the open plan? Which one fosters teamwork and communication more?
Could you repeat, please?
Which one fosters teamwork and communication more?
The open plan.
Open plan is everybody there, easy to communicate, easy to get work done, right? So all of them have their own advantages and disadvantages. Which is the most flexible?
Virtual.
The virtual. We could be literally anywhere. I'm sure at least one of you all in their bed right now. I'm sure at least one. And they're getting to do good. For all you all know, I could be in Noodle Bowl in Grand Bazaar, eating lunch, and teaching you all right now. Just calling a random place, you know. But virtual is definitely most flexible. They can reach out to workers in a much larger pool now because they can actually work with people from a further distance. Because distance is no longer a issue. Literally have people, on this call right now from at least three different countries. Four? Four different? Three or four? Three or four different countries. And that's the flexibility of the virtual office. So if they ask you for some advantages or some disadvantages for each of these, they should be able to see them. If they ask you to compare any two of them, they should be able to. Now let's move on to ergonomics. Do you know what ergonomics is? if you had to define ergonomics, what would you say? Mhm.
So your settings on the work in the work area.
All right. I will give you a mark for that. It's the science of work area interaction. Ergonomics, the science of work area interaction. So it's how the environment in the workplace affects the workers. You think that is something important to, to know?
Yes, sir.
You want to maximize the efficiency of your workers. So if you're designing your office, you want to design it with that in mind to make it an environment where workers can be as efficient as possible. And these are some of the key things you have to consider when you're designing your office. First one, vision and lighting. If you don't, it can end up damaging your eye. You can't have too much glare that you can't see, and it can't be too dark that you can't see. If you're working on a computer, the monitor shouldn't be too close or too far away, and it should be at eye level. Because what's going to happen if you damage your eye? Will you be able to work? If you can't see as well, would you be able to work, or would that reduce your ability to
No,
work?
sir. It will lower the productivity.
Exactly. And we don't want that. It's not that the office being real with you. It's not that the managers care about you, you know. They care about what you could bring to the company. And the only reason they care about your well-being is because if you're not um, operating at 100%, then you cannot give the business 100%. So they will put things in place to make sure that you will give the business 100%. The temperature. Most offices in Trinidad and the Caribbean have AC units because we live in a hot climate. You wouldn't want to feel too warm because then they won't be comfortable and they won't be able to work as efficiently. They wouldn't want the AC too cold as well because then that can make you uncomfortable and they won't be able to work efficiently. So they would try to find a temperature that is best suited for everyone. That's normally be around 24 degrees, but it will vary from person to person and stuff. Right? In certain parts of the office, you also want to make sure there's proper ventilation when necessary. You wouldn't want to get sick. The seating. Imagine you're going to work in the office and it's no chairs. You just stand up and type. You think you're going to be as efficient as you could be? If you just stand up all day and type? What do you
No,
think?
sir.
No, right? Or you're sitting down in a chair and it's not comfortable. It doesn't give you proper support. You don't have an armrest, you don't have a proper backrest, so your back hurts in you. Or the desk high, and the chair low. So they be able to work efficiently. No, right?
No, sir.
Exactly. So all these things you have to take into account when creating the business, when creating the office. They have to make sure they don't have too much clutter. So you don't want you tripping over something and damaging yourself. It might seem like small things, but all of these things you will have to take into account when designing the office. If you want to maximize your productivity, which would in turn maximize their profitability. And then certain things they have to take into account, really important. Repetitive injuries, RSIs, repetitive strain injuries, from doing the same thing over and over again. A simple thing like clicking a mouse over and over again, if you don't have a proper armrest, could damage your wrist. To give you a carpal tunnel syndrome. And then they can't use their wrist, they can't work. You don't care that they can't use their wrist, they care that they can't use their wrist to work. So you want to put things in place and ensure that stuff like that doesn't happen. When I worked in Guardian as an accountant, one of the things they used to do, they used to promote a lot of health and wellness. So parts of the day, they would encourage you to stand up and walk around and stuff like that. Instead of just sitting on by your desk all day, typing and clicking on the computer to try to avoid the repetitive stress injuries. Again, you think it's because they care about you. But no, they know if you're healthier, you're getting sick less, you're doing more work. So when now they have all their big business, and now they're hiring all their workers, and it's time for you to design all their office. I need you to take these things into account, right? The lighting, temperature, the furniture and equipment you're using, the ventilation. You have to take all these things into account, right? And let's take a look at some of the equipment that you might find in an office. Next. Raise your hand if you've been in an office for any kind of company before and you've seen different equipment, at least two different sets of equipment. And at least you never went down in the office before in school.
Yes, sir.
And then see any equipment when they went inside by Mrs. Lee Tandy.
I didn't went in, but like when I was working in the Massey accounting department, I saw a heavy duty printer, a shredder, and I can't remember what else I saw. But yeah.
Sure, I have, well, at home, my father he has a computer, he has a shredder, he has a laser printer, he has a scanner, he has a normal printer, he has something else, but I can't remember what it was. At school, they have a multifunctional printer. They also have a digital camera and a projector,
Okay.
and they have a laminator. So
So
I saw all of them, majority of those products.
you have a good idea of different equipment that you see in an office then.
Yeah.
You
Well, I know some of them I know how to work as well.
it's good. So you all understand the difference between something like a guillotine and a shredder? If,
Yes, sir. So
right.
I
Uh-huh.
if I can explain it if you want.
Sure.
So so shredder is used to, like, if you want to take up import, like, documents that are important but you don't no longer need like confidential stuff, but you don't want people to see it. A shredder will put it into, like, into small tiny pieces so that's unreadable. So if you put it into the machine and it just reads all of it, like cut it into small tiny pieces automatically. A guillotine now is used to like cut like large amount of cards or like large amount of papers. So you come it's like so you will cut it accurately so you could cut all the paper and they push down. It has something like a knife thing on the side, so they push it down, and that just makes all the paper cut the same as that length.
Right. So basically, if you want to destroy the document, you use the shredder. And if you want to cut the document accurately, let's say you just want to cut off a piece of the document or something, then you use the guillotine. Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Alright. Then we have stuff like multifunctional printers. Multifunctional printers, most offices will have these, and most schools will have these as well. Right? They could print, scan, and copy. To print, it means you're taking something that's soft copy from a computer, for example, and making a hard copy version of it. So you're printing and
So
you're
I
taking
have a laser
information.
printer.
Mhm.
I have a laser printer. It's very similar to like it's a multifunctional printer, I think, but it's also a laser printer. Like it can do all of this stuff,
Right,
but it can't fax. But it could print, copy, and scan.
right. Most could print, copy, and scan. Not all could fax, but most would be printing, copying, and scanning. Right? To copy, you're basically taking hard copy information and duplicating it to another hard copy version. So printing is soft copy to hard copy. Photocopying is hard copy to hard copy. And scanning is like the opposite of printing. Scanning, you're taking hard copy information and you're making a soft copy duplicate. So it's hard copy to soft copy. Now how faxing works, the fax machine will scan a document. Then the information will be after you call the fax machine that you're trying to send the information to, the information will go through the telephone lines and into the next fax machine that you're sending the information to. And that next fax machine will print out the same document that you scanned. Right? A lot of companies still have fax machines, but they are being used less and less because let's be real, they could just scan and email the same document now, but people are still using fax machines. Right? And then we have the risograph. You might see these in a lot of schools as well. These are for high volume printing. So one thing all schools have to deal with is exams. Coming down to exam time, they have a lot of exams to print for all forms, form 1 to 5, in some cases form 6. So they would use a risograph. We know what a scanner is already. Digital cameras, you can record stuff with the digital camera and store it soft copy. Projectors, you're able to project onto a screen information that will be from on a device. So you can connect the projector to your laptop, for example, pull up a PowerPoint presentation on your laptop, and then project the information onto a screen so a large audience could see it. Then you have like laminators. You know what a laminator is? I believe you all have IDs. Any of you all have IDs?
Yes.
You know, some of you,
Is it like when it's protect?
right, it's protected by a plastic over it. Some of you all might have
Yeah.
IDs like that, right?
Yeah.
That means it was laminated. A binder is something that holds the pages together. Let's say you're trying to form a book, and well, a labeler puts labels on documents, right? And then, well, you all know what computers and stuff are already, because most of you all are on a computer right now. They normally, and on these computers, you normally have other tools, but these would be software tools like Microsoft Office or Zoom that we're using right now. These will also be considered tools that you could use in an office, right? But if the question asks you about equipment in an office, I only want you to talk about physical equipment. To bring up the guillotine, the shredder, the printer, the scanner, the copier, the risograph, the projector, digital computer, collator, binder, laminator, bring up those stuff, right? If they ask you what they use to destroy, in like the shredder, if you need to make large amount of copies, they talk about the risograph. If you want something that could print, scan, and copy, then you're using a multifunctional printer and so forth, right? Everybody good?
Yes, sir.
Mm.
Let's take a look at some important things to consider when we're deciding what equipment to get. Should I buy a printer, a scanner, and a fax machine? Or should I buy a three-in-one? Which one is costing more money? Which one is costing less money? Would I have to print and scan at the same time? Or is it okay to just have one machine and I could print when I need to print, scan when I need to scan, fax when I need to fax? You have a bunch of different things to think about. If I buy this equipment, would I achieve what I'm trying to achieve? Does buying it make sense? Or should I just rent it? Would I need it for a long period of time?
So I think it's better to buy it.
Well, as you think, it varies from person to person based on the need.
Yeah,
If I
but so
need to
like
make,
let's say
hmm,
you could put like let's say it's a house scenario as well. Let's say you buying the house could be cheaper. Buying a house is cheaper than renting a house in some places because the rent is way too high. Like renting stuff, you have to pay every month. If you buy it, you just buy. You don't have to pay unless you have to do like interest and all of that. So if you buy it, it's just there. You can use it and whatever. But if you rent it, now you have to keep paying money probably every month, and it's gonna more by the end of the year it's gonna be more than how much you paid to just buy it.
it still varies. So let's say, for example, I got a project where I need to print 10,000 documents. This is not the type of business I'm normally in, and it's only once I'm going to need to do this. If I buy a risograph just to do that, and then I'll never use it again, I might say it is a waste of money, as opposed to if I rent it for an hour, do all the printing I need to do and give it back, and it costs me a fraction of the cost. So in some instances, it might make more sense to rent it. But if I know I'm going to be printing regularly over and over again, then it would make sense for me to buy it instead. So it can vary from situation to situation, from person to person. But just something that you should consider before you decide which equipment to buy, how much of the equipment to buy, where to buy it from. Right? You have to think about, um, does it make your job easier? Is it more efficient? Do they do the job that is required to do? How much is it costing me? Not just how much it costs to buy it, but to maintain it, to upkeep it, to buy certain things for it. So when you buy a printer, it's not just to buy the printer. You'll have to buy ink and toner and stuff continuously as well. According to equipment, you might need some training in how to use it. Stuff like that, right? And then is it feasible to buy it? Do I have enough money? Would it make sense in the long run? Let's take a look at some of these skills, attitudes, and attributes of a clerk in an office. Right? So when you're looking at skills, we're looking at the things they're able to do. Right? A clerk in an office should be able to count, should be able to read, should understand numbers. They should be able to communicate with other people. Now more than ever, they need to have computer literacy. This is the digital age we're in now, especially with stuff like AI and things going on now. You will need to have computer literacy. You'll need to understand how to use some of the equipment in the office. You will need to have time management skills. You'll need to have analytical abilities. You'll need to be able to problem solve. All these things are skills and abilities that an office clerk should have. Not a particular worker, not somebody working in a particular department. No matter where you're working, once you're in an office, these are some of the skills you should possess. These are some of the things that you should be able to do. Basic literacy, basic numeracy, to be able to communicate, computer literacy, time management skills, the ability to use productivity tools, analytical problem solving. You should have some of these skills. Now, when it comes to attitude, attitude looks at how a person thinks. So sometimes what I realize when it comes to skills, attitudes, and attributes, some students tend to mix it up. So they might say attribute is time management, or attitude is literacy. I want you to understand the differences, right? So skills is the things you can do. Attitude is how you feel. So do you have team spirit? Can you tolerate people that are different than you? Right? Do you feel or do you have environmental awareness? Right? Do you feel like you're someone who could cooperate with others? Right? Those are some of the attitudes that you should have when you're working in an office. Because you will be working with other people, and a lot of them will be different than you. We live in a world with millions of different people, billions of different people. And our attributes look at your traits, who you are. Do you have a positive work ethic? Are you willing to learn? Are you a punctual person? Do you come to work regularly? Are you ethical? Are you confident? These are the types of people that should be in an office, right? Try not to mix it up. Try not to mix up skills, attitudes, and attributes. Look at this example here. If they ask for attitude for a clerk handling complaints, tolerance will be our attitude. Right? If they say communication skills, that's a skill, not an attitude. Right? If they say they're willing to learn how to communicate with clerks better, how to communicate with customers better, then that is an attribute. Try not to mix up skills, attitudes, and attributes. Now let's look at the relationships between work in the office and their supervisor, their colleagues, and then their customers. Right? So you want to build a good relationship with the supervisor, or you all trust each other. If your supervisor could trust you to get the work done that was assigned to you, that would improve how the relationship greatly. And if you could trust your supervisor by listening and following the instructions, that would improve how the relationship greatly as well. Right? Try to give feedback to each other. Let the supervisor give you feedback saying, you know, hey, you're doing a good job. You can do this better, you can do this differently, and you give feedback as well to the worker. It will reduce conflict and it will improve productivity. If you could have a good relationship with your colleagues now, it could foster cooperation, improve teamwork. You can help each other by sharing the workload and covering for each other when one person isn't there or unwell or is falling behind. You can help each other out. Again, that would improve productivity. It would improve your work life. And then you have your customers. Now, anybody that you are carrying out a service for is your customer. It doesn't have to be an external paying customer. Every person next to you in your office say, hey, you can help me with this, and you are helping them. They are your customer. Right? That's what they mean when they say internal customers and external customers. The same positive image and all them stuff you will give to the external customers, you should give to the internal customers as well. Right? The better relationship you have with them, internal ones, the faster you'll get work done, and tasks completed. The better relationship with the external customers, the more likely they are to come back, which will increase the business revenue. Right? The people in the office come like the hearts. Those are the ones that have the right skills, attitudes, and attributes, the ones that we spoke about. The engine will be the equipment that is used. The habitat is the environment, the ergonomic environment, and the blueprints would be what they are attempting to do, which is those four functions that we looked at, right? At the very beginning, when we looked at the creation and distribution of goods and services, we looked at data management, we looked at dissemination, and we looked at management rules. And that is office orientation in a nutshell. Okay? And I will be sending this to you all for you all to go through on your own, right?
Yes,
So
sir.
right. So it is now 11 on the dot. Reception and hospitality. Reception and hospitality might be more important than a lot of people realize. The very, very first impression a lot of people get on a business is the receptionist. That first contact can make or break the business relationship. That can make somebody decide if they're gonna buy or if they're gonna ever buy again. Right? First person you're talking to, so when they speak to you, they actually represent the entire business when they speak to you. According to how the interaction goes, it can help build customer loyalty, especially if they do their job right, and it can help create trust among each other. They can also act as a shield protecting the company once they're doing their job correctly as well. They can reduce the complaints. They can screen unwanted visitors from the very beginning before they even get into the business. Right? So look at the receptionist in a little more detail. What are some of the attributes a receptionist should have? You think? Some of the things about a receptionist that some qualities that it should have. Anybody can think of any? Nobody?
So there must be
Woman?
well spoken.
Well spoken, right? What you have to do, if you can't remember it, think about some receptionists that you would have met before. And think about certain things about them, right? So they were well spoken for sure. What about their attire? Were they well dressed?
Well dressed, well done, very informative.
Did they have manners?
And well, I would have said
Dr. Fair and anything like that? Well, at least you're not supposed to be a city. And what do you think of some of the duties of a receptionist? Some of the things a receptionist should do. Anybody know?
to answer calls, book meetings. Well, not really, but yes, book appointments. Sorry, and help customers.
Also maintain the reception area and the reception register. Again, so when people visitors come in, they have to sign the reception register. And what about the reception area itself? What are some of the things they would see in the reception area?
A computer probably means questionnaires.
Well, not question is maybe magazines and stuff.
Sorry.
Maybe you might see magazines and stuff, so maybe not questioning. What about plants and decorations and stuff?
Mm-hmm.
If they have any awards, they have it hung up on the wall. Might have a sitting area. They may have a tea station, a water cooler. So there is some things they could ask there. They could ask you about the characteristics of the receptionist, the functions of the receptionist, and the reception area. So let's look at some of the characteristics of the receptionist. They have to have good grooming, good appearance. They have the ability to take initiative. They have to be able to remain calm and have good temperament. The visitor again, he can get heated too. Because remember, you're representing the entire company. You have to have tact. You have to be have manners, you have to be polite, and you have to be articulate. You have to be able to understand you when you're speaking. The duties. So they receive and they will screen visitors. They will operate them. They would answer the phone, as I said. They will receive letters and parcels. They will maintain the reception area. They will maintain the reception register. And they will go through protocols or introductions and stuff like that. When they have somebody coming to visit, let's say a manager, etc. Let's look at some telephone etiquette. So when you answer your phone at home or when you answer your cell phone, it's completely different from when you're answering the phone as a receptionist representing the company. Right? You have to have certain etiquette. There are certain things you're supposed to do, and there are certain things you're not supposed to do. Right? For one, you have to answer the phone. It should ideally be within the first two rings, but let's say within the first three rings, right? You have to speak clearly and actually smile when you speak it. Because you can hear it in your voice when you're smiling, as opposed to when you're face serious. Right? So it makes your voice sound a lot more pleasant and it helps carry the conversation easier. Right? Identify yourself and the company when you answer. Good afternoon, this is Mr. Valentine from Bally Professionals. How can I help you today? And that which brings me to the next one. Ask, how may I help you? So you say exactly how I just did it. Good afternoon, this is Mr. Valentine from Bally Professionals. How may I help you today? Or if the person would have spoken to operator already, so they know what company it is, I was transferred to you, you could announce the department. Mr. Valentine, Finance Department, how could I assist you today? And when it's time to take messages, try to take it as accurately as possible. Things not to do. Do not eat or chew gum while you're talking on the company phone, please. Please. It's one of the most unprofessional things you can do when you're eating, if you're eating and talking on the phone, right? Save that for your personal conversations or with your business. But if you're representing another company and you're a receptionist, do not eat or chew gum. Do not shout at them and don't do the opposite either. Don't whisper. If caller is talking, do cut them off in the middle of the conversation. Don't leave them on hold for kind of 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And don't tell them you'll call back and never call back. All of these things can create negative feelings, and those negative feelings will not be towards you. Those negative feelings, well, they might be towards you, but they will more be towards the company because you will be representing the company. To keep all those things in mind. When you're a receptionist and you're speaking, it comes like you're the mouth of the company. You're the face of the company. Everything you do represents the company. And so when you're taking a message, you have to ensure that you take it as accurately as possible, right? So you have to take information such as the date and time the message was given, the name of the person who left the message, and the number or the actual message is, if there's any actions needed, and then you would sign as the person who took the message. So again, if it's in the date and time that they received the message, the name of the person who left the message and their contact, the actual message, any action needed, if it's an urgent message, if you have to call the person back, whatever the case may be, and it's in your initials so that you are the one that took the message. And so that that message is delivered as promptly as possible. And, and if they need to contact anybody about the message, or need to contact anybody on the whole, you could always look at the directory. The directory will have the information of different persons and the contact. You could have your own personal directory, or you could have the company directory. Look at the switchboard. You can have either a manual switchboard or automatic switchboard. Most places have automatic switchboards now, right? Some places still have manual, don't get me wrong, but most places are leaning towards the automated switchboard now, especially with AI. So you have a call and you hear some options. They call a company, hear some options. Welcome to so and so. For so and so, so and so, press 1. For so and so, so and so, so and so, press 2. You ever get that before? Or if you know your party's extension, please dial it now, followed by the pound sign. You ever heard anything like that before?
Yeah, that's
Yes,
when you
sir.
call the bank.
Alright.
Yeah.
So that is the switchboard, right? So what can happen is one of two things. You call an operator answers, you tell the operator how to direct the call, and that will be the receptionist. And then the operator will transfer you to whoever you want to go to. That will be the manual one. The automated one is when you get all the different instructions and they press the buttons accordingly, and it will transfer you to that area. The other day I called Cooper Airlines, and they had something completely AI where I actually had to say certain commands on the phone, and then the AI will hear it, analyze it, and then transfer me accordingly. It was headache because the AI wasn't hearing me properly. I had to repeat myself so much times, but it's getting more automated every day. So what do you think would be an advantage of having a manual switchboard? Which one I think would be more flexible? The automated one or the manual one?
Manual.
Which one? I didn't hear you. Which one?
Manual.
The manual. So the manual, you have a human being that will make certain decisions based on what it is the caller needs. So the automated one, they will have fixed commands that they have to stick to. Which one will be able to handle a higher amount of volume? The manual or the automated one? Which one will be able to handle more calls? Think about it.
Automated.
The automated. If 10 people call the automated one at the same time, according to how their phone lines are set up, it can handle it. But if it's a manual operator, you might get a busy tune because you may have to handle one at a time if it's only one operator. Another thing receptionists do is help create appointments or help control appointments. I should say. So it's not just make an appointment to do, but sometimes you may have to reschedule appointments or cancel them altogether. All of these you have to do following certain procedures. So for example, if I have to cancel an appointment that is supposed to happen today, Should I call the person or should I send an email? Which one you think?
Call.
Call, right? Because I can send an email and they not see it and they end up in the business and now they upset because the appointment cancelled. Same thing with rescheduling, right?
Mm.
So they making the appointment. You'll have to call, you'll check availability between the person you're going to make the appointment with as well as the manager, whoever you're making the appointment for. You suggest different times. You confirm in both parties and then they take a record of it. If they need to reschedule, you have to apologize. First thing you do, you schedule and cancel, you need to apologize. Right? You suggest different new time. Once you check with both parties, take note of it. If you need to cancel, you cancel as early as humanly possible. Soon as they know you inform that you need to cancel, you cancel. Apologize. You either state in your records that it was cancelled or you remove it completely. Right. If they need to reschedule, then you reschedule. All of them have their own procedures that they have to follow. This is the best practice. Because remember, again, it's still the face of the company. You don't want to do anything that could potentially upset clients because they're gonna be, they're not gonna be saying a receptionist. They're gonna be saying that company. And again, when it comes to appointment, you can record them manually or you can record them using electronic. Whichever one you think is best for you, have their own advantages and their own disadvantages. Humble opinion, for me, I think the electronic advantages outweigh the manual system advantages. I can, if my things are stored electronically, I can access them anyway, even if I don't have the device. Oh, if I don't have the device that I did it on me, I can create it. I can make it so I have access to it anyway once I have any other device. If I'm using a manual system, I need to have that specific manual book in order to check my appointment. And those things could run out of space. Let's look at the reminder. Have you all ever done reminder systems before?
No, sir.
No? Is
Yes,
this?
sir.
Oh, yes. Okay, good.
The
Okay.
phone system, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, yes. Okay, good. Right. So it's just different techniques to help you remember important details. So one of the main ones you'll see in the office is the particular file. Right? So you'll have the file, let's say the file is for January. You will have files with all the different days numbered, and each day will have information on important things they need to do on those particular days. Might have a diary. The diary will have a different page for each day of the year and different times and stuff associated with each day. You'll always record in the diary different, sorry, different details or events or anything that you have. Similar to a calendar as well. You can always highlight on the different days in the calendar, the different things you have. For somebody now going in to this particular file, diaries, calendars, all share them out this week to help you remember important information, right? Remember important dates, remember any important activities you have coming up, meetings, things like that. When it comes to doing these things manually and doing these things electronically, they all have their advantages and their disadvantages. It all comes down to which advantage is more important to you. They want it to be able to be easy to share, to be able to back it up easily and have reminders to use electronic. If you want low force and you don't want to nearly, if you want low force, you want to rely on any external power devices and anything, you want to be able to have access to it anytime if you need it. And you want to keep forever the recording information close by all the time. So that's all we can do for the thing. These documents. Well, there's substance of everything that and all the characteristics they should have, and they carry out all the duties. All of the systems will run efficiently, and it shouldn't have any issue. This will also be sent to you. You can go through it as well. So that is more or less reception. This will be our second pause, and then we'll be doing communication, and then meeting, and then we'll be looking at some practical questions. So we took with that, and good meeting, very good time so far. It's 12:45. We could continue at 1 o'clock. I see. You could stay on. Just go and get something to drink when you can line up, right? So now we're gonna start one of the most important things in an office, probably in business on the whole, and that is communication. That is the right? So that channels and how information flow, how we decide to choose the correct channel, how we deal with barriers, and then how we execute it, like the different stationery and envelopes and stuff like that we can use. So when we communicated, we have formal and informal channels that we can use. Formal communication follow a certain procedure and guideline. And it normally goes in particular direction. So it might be upward. Upward would be a subordinate communicating with a superior, or it might be downward. Superior So, reporting or guys sending instructions or information to subordinates. It could be horizontal, persons on the same level sending information to each other. Informal doesn't follow any specific rules or guidelines. So it's much faster because it's not restricted by any of these things. Now it's like normal, people talking like normal. Talking with a friend, send a message. Hey, you hear so and so is the case. Information passes way faster. However, a lot of rumors also spread. So sometimes the information is not accurate. When it's time to communicate now, you all know what communication is, right? Firstly, the transferring of thoughts and ideas from one person to another.
Yes, sir.
There's different ways we could do this. We could do this orally, like what we're doing right now. We're having a conversation. We could do it written. So when I send your notes, that's the written communication. It's send letters, memos, agendas, questionnaires, minutes, press releases, anything that's written information and transferring from one person to the next.
So I have a question, and this is a very odd question, right? So, whenever a person's blind and they're deaf, so if they use Braille, would that be counting as communication through touch?
Yes, that would be non-verbal communication.
Okay.
Electronic is
So
also
sign language is non-verbal communication.
correct. Sign language will also be non-verbal or visual. Because I could do, because you'll be using your eyes, right? I will be showing you signs and you'll be using your eyes to see what I'm communicating. So you can see that as non-verbal, but you can see it as visual. But braille will be considered non-verbal. Fully non-verbal. So you have electronic as well, which is what we're doing right now as well. We are using electronic devices to communicate with each other via Zoom. Just an email, open the phone, send a text, send a fax. All of these things will be considered electronic communication. And you have visual, which is also what we're doing right now. Right? Me using presentation is considered visual communication. So showing you pictures, charts, graphs, right? Examples. This will be considered visual communication. And then we have our non-verbal communication. So our body language, braille, the tone, not the words you're saying, but how you say it. Right? How close you are to the person or how far you are to the person from the person. How fast you're speaking. All of these will be called considered non-verbal communication. So, scenario, a manager sends a policy update email to all junior staff. If you want to know what type of or what mode of communication they use, that would be electronic. It's literally in the name, right? Email means electronic mail. And if you want to know what direction, it's from the superior to the subordinate. So that will be considered downward. You all understand?
Yes, sir.
Making sure. How do we choose what channel of communication to use? There are two different factors we have to consider. For one, I have a business partner in America. Should I call them using my Roman minute, or should I call them on WhatsApp? Which one will make more sense?
So could you repeat the question, please?
I have a business partner in America. Should I call them using my Roman minutes, or should I call them using WhatsApp? Which one will make more sense?
I will say WhatsApp.
Definitely WhatsApp. So if you go and spend all that money to talk on the phone, when I could use WhatsApp and it costs me no extra money. Make sense? So that's one of the first things you look at, the cost. I have a presentation to show one person. Should I get the projector, light it up on the wall, or could I just sit down with them with my laptop and show them? Which one do you think I
Just
should
put
do?
your
It's
laptop
just
and
show
that's
them
them.
on,
Sit down with
yeah.
my laptop, right? If it's 50 people, should I sit down with the laptop and show them? Or should I get the projector?
Yeah, they got the projector first.
Projectors.
Alright. So your audience size is the next thing you have to consider. I look out my window. I see Kyra walking, and I see a man running behind Kyra with a knife. I get scared. I say, oh no, I need to warn Kyra now. So I start writing up an email to warn her. That make sense?
No, sorry, just green.
Alright. It's really urgent. I should probably call her. So how urgent it is, that could help decide what type of communication I use. Um, Joyanne, I'm giving Joyanne a raise, $2,000. Should I give her that information in a sealed envelope, or should I announce it on the intercom?
Still envelope.
Right. Confidentiality. Depending on how confidential it is, that will decide how I communicate. I need to call Annalise, but Annalise is in Barbados. Should I shout really, really loud, or should I contact her via telephone or via Zoom?
Contractor.
Contact her.
Do I need to contact her and she's in Japan? Should I call her or should I send an email? Let's see which one you were saying. Call her on WhatsApp or send an email.
Hmm.
Which one?
The question one more time, please.
She's in Japan. Should I call her on WhatsApp or should I send an email?
So, look, I want to give
Email.
my point of view, right? So, I personally think it will be email because sometimes in some countries, if you have a phone number, they don't allow you to contact a person in another region. So, Japan is in Asia, we are in North America. Sometimes people not allow the calls to go through the text which because they're in another region. So possibly for email, it would be more accurate to send an email than to send a message or text, and not having to pay for it also, or having to deal with something like that. Because then you don't want to pay all that extra money. You don't, and yeah, although they have a SIM, it's still like I realized that when we went Saudi, we weren't really able to contact our family from here, but we managed it because we have both had Barbados and Sims in, but it's still difficult to contact someone in a different continent altogether together. So I think personally is the email.
Let me give you a scenario.
And on top of that, the time difference. So the email will make
Yes.
more
Right.
sense.
It's that's what I wanted to get to. So very good. In Japan has a 13-hour difference than us in the Caribbean. So if I call them now at 1:21 p.m.,
They will probably be
it will
sleeping.
be exactly, it will be 2 in the morning. But if I send an email, whenever they wake up, they'll get the information. Mhm. All of these things you have to consider when choosing the correct communications or the best, most efficient communication channel. So, just examples, right? You need to inform 500 people of a minor employee cafeteria change.
All she gotta say is
You know,
my
you
fiance.
know, good.
All she wanna say is my fiance. Period.
Sorry. Alright.
So I think her mic came on by accident.
It's all right. That's all right. It happens. All right. So you want to communicate to 500 people, then you're going to talk to each of them one by one. It's in a mass email, right? If they ask you how to justify it, the email will be very low cost. You can communicate to a large audience, and the information is not very confidential, so it's okay. A staff member receiving a final disciplinary warning, you have a face-to-face communication, or any give them a seal letter. If they ask you to justify it, it's confidential. You want to have a record that the communication was given. Like that barriers to communication. Now, a barrier to communication is anything that makes communication difficult. Right? So, Annalise, are you there? Annalise, you there? All right.
Yes, sir.
I want you to tell us about the social studies SB,
Sure, can you repeat the social studies what?
SBA, the SB. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah.
Tell us about it now, please.
Um, well, firstly,
La 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 la.
oh my God.
Tell us about it. La 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 la
Firstly,
la
we
la
had,
la 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 la.
sir,
Difficult to see
oh
it,
my
right?
gosh.
It's
Yes,
difficult.
sir.
That is an example of a barrier to entry, right? A barrier to communication. Anything that makes it difficult to communicate will be a barrier. So literal noise is a literal example. You ever feeling tired or sick and somebody come in and talk to you and you're really not feeling to talk to them or you're not even listening to them properly? That ever happened to you before?
Wait, so you can repeat it?
Have you ever felt tired or sick or stressed and somebody tried to come and talk to you and you're really not feeling to talk to them?
Uh,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right. All that to be considered barriers.
one of the greatest barriers to communication is language differences.
Hmm?
It's language differences. That's a very big barrier to communication.
See, see. Here, come here, ahora, por favor. Anybody knows what I just said?
So repeat. I think I know.
Here, come here, ahora, por favor.
Are you speaking
He's
Spanish?
speaking Spanish.
What am I
Because
saying?
I do not
Yeah,
comprehend.
I heard some of it. I heard ahora. That means time.
Yeah, ahora means now.
No, so what time is it now then?
I said, quiero comer ahora, por
Oh,
favor.
you want food now.
Mhm. Oh,
That's what he
mhm.
said?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I said. I want to eat now. I want to eat now. Oh, let's see. I am speaking and I'm saying the GDP is improving, but the GNP needs some fixing. We need to diversify the economy. Because when you look at the major economic systems right now, and I'm using words that you all don't know, because I'm using economic jargon, that alone could be a barrier. Right? But instead of just speaking plainly and say, well, the economy doing better, we're making more money, you'll understand that. But if I say the
yes.
GDP is not as good as the GNP, and we need more protectionism, so that we need to promote more globalization, it might be lost, right? So the use of jargon could be a barrier. Or the perception of somebody could be a barrier. So if you're thinking about stereotypes, and you see this person, they automatically assume they are a certain type of way.
Yep, so we get that a lot. It's crazy.
It's a huge barrier.
Yes, sir, because like they automatically think like okay, you're like as a we're Muslim, but we don't get that much in Barbados. But like if we go to a different country, Saudi people don't do that. But if we go to a different country, they think that since you're automatically a Muslim, they call us terrorists, and it's just like that's
Wow,
crazy. That's crazy.
wow.
And we were just like once we were just like we once my father told the person it was just like you cannot assume that for everybody just based on something that happened. So then it was just like these stereotypes just be like crazy.
Wait, did she speak in her native language, meaning a foreign language
No, just,
at first?
not just speaking English.
Didn't sound so in the beginning.
Oh, yeah, it's just an accent.
Yeah,
Yeah, that it was a huge barrier for the may not believe citizenship or they will assume citizens about him, and that will make communication difficult. Semantics. So, semantics, you can use the same word and it can have different meanings. And so, for example, I could say, that book is red. What do I mean when I say that book is red? Anybody?
um
Simple thing, that book is red.
The book is wreck or
Red,
red?
red, red.
but so you didn't tell us which book it is?
If I say that Harry Potter book is red, what do I mean?
Is it that the color of the book read or like you read it already?
Exactly. It could have two meanings. So I could have meant that I read the book already, and you think I'm saying that the color of the book is actually red. So that's that's what we mean when we say semantics. The same word could have different meanings and it could confuse someone. All of that could be considered a barrier. The lack of feedback is also a barrier. That's why from time to time I will ask if you'll understand, if you'll hear me. Because if I don't get feedback, I don't know if you're getting the information that I'm communicating accurately or not. So I have to stop and say, does that make sense? Or do you all understand? Because I'll need feedback. Literacy skills. I use them big words.
Yes, sir.
I use them big words and you don't know the meaning. Or you can't read. So write a lesson, you can't read it.
So spelling, we want to.
Yeah. I spell the word wrong. And you think it means something else. But you have no idea what I mean for the spelling the word so terribly. So remember, anything that makes it difficult to communicate is a barrier. So remember, we're looking for efficiency. So once we notice a barrier, we have to try and find a solution to the barrier. So instead of using jargon, we use simple words. We realize somebody might not be able to read well, we use oral instead of visual. And then we ask for feedback to make sure that they understand. If you have a lot of noise, go to a quieter room. Communication is not promoted. So you have a closed communication climate. You try to create an open, trusting environment so people will feel more comfortable communicating. So whenever you see a barrier, you try to find ways to overcome the barrier. So you might give you an example like this, right? A mechanic is explaining the engine failure to a customer using advanced mechanical engineering skills. The customer nods but looks confused. The barrier here will be jargon, right? And to fix this, all you have to do is use simpler language. You will ever see like a movie and something happened in the movie and the scientists explaining what happened and they're doing it in real technical terms. And then like, the hero will be like, what does that mean? And they'll just explain it in real simple language after. There's a clear example of the barrier happening and then they're trying to solve the barrier. And then you simply ask them if they understand, you'll know that the information was fast and accurate. You see some of these here, different stationery, the letterhead, the memo cards, complimentary slips, labels, flyers and brochures, business cards, and the different types of paper. This is for you to learn. Right? I will give you some information on the different sizes of paper, letterhead, legal size, but you're seeing it here. You're seeing A4 is larger than A5 and A6. You're seeing the measurements for letterhead and legal size. Legal size is longer than the letterhead, but with the same width, 8.5. You always need to learn these. right? C4, C5, etc. You just need to learn them off, right? So they can ask questions in it. It doesn't come often, but it comes. At least in multiple choice, they might ask you about the A4, A5, and A6 paper. They might ask you which one is the largest, for example, and you know A4 is the largest. Right? So really that's the limit. Now, this is some of the tools they can use to help you with the communication. So you're not sure how a word is spelled, or you're not sure the meaning of a word, you can use a dictionary. You need a better word to use. You need a synonym, a thesaurus. You need number, summary phone number, you use the telephone. You need a location, map, you need a timetable, schedule, you need certain any kind of news or fact. You can just use the internet search engine like Google. Then you have the Hansard. The Hansard has verbatim records of parliamentary debates. Verbatim means word for word. So they have verbatim records of parliamentary debates. And an official gazette is like a newspaper where it's published by the government and out it announces new laws and legislation and stuff like that. So that is part one of communication. So we're gonna move on to part two now. Um, what I'm thinking to you, because of this good time you're making, I think I am going to do instead of, I'm thinking of doing the first four sections today, the second for tomorrow, the last two on Saturday, and then we spend the rest of the time doing past paper questions. I think that might be the best fit. So I'm gonna move on to part two one time. Continue looking at telecommunications and digital flow, dispatching and parcel logistics, and mailroom machinery and office scaling. Hmm. Good thing with telecommunication, you can connect with people all over the world in seconds, or literal milliseconds technically. Hmm. According to how you do it, you can actually control for, you can manage the flow traffic, and you can share information instantly. What we are doing now is like an example of it, right? We have people communicating right now all over from different parts of the world. I mean, it's in the Caribbean region, but it's still different parts of the world. Thing is, we have Barbados, Grenada, and Trinidad. I'm able to give you all the information instantly. I can send these files through Zoom, and you will get it immediately. Now, when it comes to mail and parcels, parcels will be like packages. And so we have packages to deliver or receive, or we have mail to send out. All of that to be part of communication. So when it comes to telecommunications, there's so much things they have emergency contacts. In Trinidad is 811 and 999. But is it in Barbados?
I think it's
Sorry?
police. I think police is 211. The fire is 311, and then the ambulance is 511.
Okay. You can talk to people locally or internationally. You can do conference video calls, like what we're doing right now. Well, I mean, our videos off. That is, I want to leave my video off because I don't want my face to distract you all. I want you to actually be able to pay attention to the work and stuff. Where we can do video calls. You can call people, they can leave voicemails. You can do speed dial. You can actually assign a number. So let's say I just call Chanel Real 20. I can set Chanel number for number 3. And I ready to call. I just press 3 and call at one time. I don't understand why you're laughing, Chanel. I don't see the joke. My face could be distracting. I get a haircut today. Anyway, you could text people, WhatsApp. You have a lot of options, right? Some of the young ones, you have never even seen a landline telephone.
Sir, I have one at in my house.
Good. I have one in my house too, so somehow do I sadly use it. I take this. So we all have Wi-Fi, and it saves way more money than using traditional phone lines. You have Wi-Fi, and you're using a Wi-Fi to communicate, and you're using these multimedia apps to communicate. You don't have to pay extra. You just have to pay the cost of the Wi-Fi. So you can use it and you can bypass the traditional phone line, which is why we're seeing them less and less these days. Which one would you rather use? Either landline and call, or you rather use um something like video conferencing, where it's free. We could actually see the person if you want to see them. You could send them information. You could show them stuff on your device. Which one you'll find more convenient?
So as you said earlier on in the class, this is the era of computerized children. So I rather my Wi-Fi rather than a landline.
Sir, I would probably choose Wi-Fi as well. I mean, landline is not bad for people that don't like talking to others, but I have. If I was someone that didn't have work to do, I would probably use that. But you know, but sir, I don't even have a phone, so it's just. But I will choose the Wi-Fi, the VoIP.
Let's look at how we dispatch our mail. Right? So for one, so we actually have three ways. Right? Some companies have their own courier service. So they have their own courier working with them. So when it's time to deliver, their courier will deliver for them. So then a lot of companies will reach out to a private courier service. And the private courier, and they'll pay the private courier service to do their deliveries for them, to deliver their mail and their packages. Right? It costs more money, but now you have more features and the delivery is done faster. Then the next option is to go to the postal office. It's a public organization, so you don't have to pay. So you save, no, not say you don't have to pay. You pay less, right? So you save a lot of money, right? However, it's much slower than a private courier, right? So it's really based on what you run. Both of them, they will be able to track to the package. The private courier will be faster, but more expensive. The public courier will be slower, but cheaper. So it depends on whatever is more important to you. You have different types of mail. You have standard, first class, express, and priority.
Where does this sound like economy, higher economy, first class, and business class?
Kind of like that. Kind of like that, but for mail. The standard is like the cheapest one, most basic one, but it's slow. Then you have first class, which is normally delivered by the next working day. Express, where they deliver at a particular time. And then priority, which is the fastest possible delivery. We have different types of mail as well, right? So if you have registered mail, it must be signed for. So when they deliver, the person have to sign statement they got it, right? Record the delivery, provides proof that the mail was sent and that it was delivered. Express delivery is fast delivery. They try to speed up the delivery as much as possible. And post resante, it is when it's pulled securely at the post office for whoever to come and collect it. So instead of sending it to them, it will be held in the trust for the post office and who it's for will come and collect the mail. When it's secure in the parcel now, you have to ensure that it's delivered in a safe way, right? So on the outside, it will be strong and sturdy to avoid any external damages. But then on the inside, you'll need some padding. So you might use some bubble wrap, for example. That would cushion it in the event that the package is shaking and stuff.
You're,
Mhm.
you want to know something, right? Over here, well, if you bring stuff on a container, what happened over here was some guy he bought a car, a very like I think it was a Ferrari or something. He bought it for over here. I don't know if he was selling it. He bought it in on a container ship, and the people at the place, since they have the keys and since they were like given the keys or whatever to give it to the person, they rolled it around and then they actually damaged the car, so the person had to pay like $10,000, something like that, just to get the car fixed.
10,000,
So, well, if I had to bring in stuff, I would not want to really bring it onto a cruise ship.
I understand. $10,000 is a lot.
So
It's
the thing is, right, it was that expensive because it's like probably like a $2 million, $3 million plus car. So, uh,
um
But so I still think that even with like a box and stuff, if it's like glass, it could still break.
You could,
It could still
but
break,
you could
even if
also
it's in
get
a
insurance for it. So if something happens, the insurance will cover it.
way industry. You could probably get refunded on it.
Yeah. The package also needs to be sealed so that you help protect from theft. And on the surface, you'll have the address and return address and stuff like that. So they know where to be delivered to. And if it's not delivered, where to return it to. The price the parcel is supposed to be assigned to the delivery, you inspect it, you log the receipt, you inform whoever the recipient is, and you secure the item until the person come and collect it or you deliver it to them. Always inspect it. A lot of people just forget that part out. If you sign and say these five things were delivered, but when you inspect it, it's only four, you'll end up in some problems, right? So you inspect it, and if it's something missing or something damaged, you make a note of it on the delivery note. You record that it was received, who it was received by, the date, etc. You notify who it was for, and you either store it for them to come and collect, or you go and deliver it. Look at, you get mail, you collect it, you record when you got it, as in the date, who you send was, stamp it to show the exact arrival time. You can deliver it to whoever it's for, or you could sort it based on department, etc. And you could leave it for them to come and collect. Either one is according to whatever the protocol is in that company. And then if it have any certain exceptions where they need certain kind of special treatment, let's say you're instructed to hold on to it for certain days and a certain amount of days and then give it to somebody else, they do that. To receive reports, stamp, route or send out, and in some instances, special treatment. If there's certain information that you have to keep stored somewhere, according to what the mail is, you store it. It's really based on the company and their policy.
So is this like also like because it said Tutor routing from mail at reception. I'm looking at it, it's like very similar to how an email does be.
Yeah, it's similar. But like let's say it's physical mail and you read it and you realize this is somebody sending a check or something like that. You close it, you report it to a supervisor, you give it to security. If it's spam or junk, somebody advertising something they all know they don't need, you can throw it away. If it's cash or checks, so money, people sending money, you record the amount of money to it and you send it to the account department. With registered mail, you must input and you put it somewhere completely separate. There's just the exception. To junk mail, you throw it away. Malicious, you give it to the supervisor or security immediately. If it's money, you record the amount and then straight to the account department. Registered mail has to be stored separately from everything else. And they must sign for it. Now, a lot of these things, to be honest, right? I don't see coming to the exam. I've hardly ever seen it come except maybe in a multiple choice or something. But just trying to be thorough, right? I say like, hey, you'll go in this question, right? I don't think I've ever seen this come. There's just not good thing. I've never seen it come. But there's still just information to know, right? You'll separate you'll sort the mail based on the type of mail it is. You personalize them, record, and then send them. I really do see this coming. Let's have a safe view. Um, okay, what they would ask you about, they may not ask you about the mailing room, but they might ask you about what a collating machine does, or what a franking machine does, or what a sealing machine does. So you need to know what each of these machines do, right? So collating machine, it sorts pages in a correct order. The polling machine, you should know what polling machine does. Polls, right? I think it gives it out in its name. The polling machine polls letters, right? They'll poll it based on standard envelopes. They'll poll it so it can fit in the envelope perfectly, right? A sealing machine seals envelopes, and a franking machine prints stamps on it. Well, print what you normally have on a stamp, it will print that on it. The official postage will be printed directly on the envelope. If you don't have a stamp and substitute the franking machine, if you need to seal envelope a large amount, you could use a sealing machine. If you need to fold a large amount of paper and you don't want to do it manually, do a folding machine. If you need to sort paper in order, you use the collating machine. That is what you'll ask about. You will see, well, at least I've never seen them see what order you use. Collating machine, then folding, then sealing in front. But if they do, that is the order. And but the important thing is they know what each of the machines do. Large offices tend to have a high amount of mail, a large amount of mail, way more equipment and different types of equipment. They may have clerks who hire specifically to deal with it, and they try to use a lot of automated system. A small office will have less mail coming in, and a lot of it they may do it manually because it just saves them money. Or if they have any machine is small amounts, instead of hiring people specifically to deal with the mail, everybody may have to share the job. So that would just be one of the duties. And yes, they'll use electronic mail, but they will use it together with regular mail. Kind of like what the whole communication system looks like. You have the telecommunications, external people, you have the communication happening internally, and you have the external communication with the packages and stuff like that. Sorry, the communication, the different types of communication, you know, um, how we select it, barriers, different reference sources, info and telecom, different types of stationery, different couriers, how to deal with parcels, flow, different machinery here, everything. Now, we shall take our last break until 20 past 2, and then we'll do meeting. And that'll be it for the day. Now let's look at section 4, meetings. Now we're going to look at some of the terms they use in a meeting and when to use them, what they mean, and so forth, right? And some of the procedures in a meeting. That's some of the essential meeting terms, some of the documents used in a meeting, the roles of the different persons in a meeting. I mean, to be able to tell the difference between a formal meeting and an informal meeting. Some of the terms now. First one, the bylaws. The bylaws is basically rules that govern how a meeting is executed. Quorum is the minimum number of people that needs to be present. Minimum number of members, number of people that need to be present in order to have a meeting. And ad hoc is something temporary that is formed for a specific purpose. So let's say there's an emergency meeting, or if let's say you need a committee to handle something, or you have something to plan for, so you create the committee. When we hear the word adjourn, that means the meeting is ended or postponed. And we use the word verbatim already. Verbatim means word for word. So when I record something or I quote something verbatim, it means I'm quoting something word for word. So, for example, if I was to say, Rihanna said verbatim, Mr. Valentine, you're the most amazing guy I ever saw in my entire life, end quote, that would be me quoting exactly what Rihanna told me from word to word, right? A proposal now in a meeting is when somebody suggests something happens. A motion is when you make it formal. So you put it to vote by the members of the meeting. Kyra, you have a question or you just forget to put your hand down? All right, let's make it. Now, let's say there's a tie in the votes. The chairperson, the person who is organizing the meeting and running the meeting and leading it, they would have the final say. They would use something called the casting vote. And the casting vote will be the decision maker. And then the resolution will be the formal decision after the vote was made. Sorry, let's look at some of these documents that we use in meetings. So for one, we have the notice. And notice will inform persons about a meeting. You'll learn about the date, the meeting, the time of the meeting, the venue of the meeting, what the meeting is about. And you're supposed to get this in advance of the meeting. So you're not supposed to get that today for today. I don't know, it happen a week or two in advance. A report presented by certain individuals or according to what's about, it could be recommendations. Have an agenda. The agenda outlines what they're going to be speaking about in the meeting, and the order in which it will be spoken about as well. And then you have minutes. Minutes is the official record of what was discussed in a meeting. I would highly recommend that you all know all of these things. Not just the document, but the other terms that we went through just now that are used in meetings like forum, adjourned, verbatim, and there are others as well, like proxy. You ever heard the term proxy? You know what a proxy is?
Yes, sir.
The proxy, anybody else to tell me?
Ask a person who sits in for a member if they're not able to make the meeting.
Exactly. And they're able to vote on that person's behalf and everything. So if somebody is my proxy and they vote, their vote will count as me voting. Look at the difference between notice and the agenda. And the different things they should have. The notice should have the organizational name at the top and the signature of the person, separate out at the bottom. The body will have the type of meeting, the date and then the venue, and who is calling the meeting. The agenda now. The first item in the agenda should be apologies for absentees, people who can't make it. Then the minutes of the previous meeting. Then you'll have the matters arising. And that is when you discuss the different things that will be discussed, well, that are to be discussed in the meeting. The agenda should have the order in which they will be discussed. Now, lots of cases, the notice and the agenda sent together. Next, we said the record of what was said in a meeting, right? So in all minutes, it's certain guidelines you're supposed to follow. For one, the record of what was sent in a meeting. So it should be done in past tense because it's in the past. Two, any final decisions that was made needs to be recorded. You don't have to say everything that happened word for word, but any final decisions that was made should be recorded. It doesn't really need to have verbatim information at the front, but not every single word doesn't need to be recorded, right? Just the final decisions and if there's any action plans. So certain people have duties to cover to do now based on the aftermath in the meeting that should be recorded. Yeah, order it. Order is important. Heading, which will be minutes, the name of the company, minutes, whoever, who was present, who was absent, the minutes of the last meeting, if it was read or not, the matters arising, the different agenda items that was discussed, the date and the individual chairperson signature. can know this. So make sure you know you all go to that order, right? So you know how to write up minutes if you need to. And that order is actually how the meeting should run. But have the apology to those who upset the minutes of the last meeting will be read. And if the matters arising, which will be different items on the agenda to be spoken about. And the statement is end. So that remember, the front of a persons are being on have the chairperson, as the person in charge of the meeting, is the one who presides over it and controls it. Then we have the treasurer. The treasurer job is to control the finances and the financial reports, update persons on the financials, on any kind of financial information that's needed. The secretary is the one who takes the minutes. They will have the notice at the notice. They're the one who do the notice, they're the one who do the agenda, who will do the reports. They don't necessarily mean always have a timekeeper, but if they do, they will be the one checking the time of the meeting, making sure you're not going longer than it's supposed to and stuff like that. So, something that's always have a parliamentarian, but if you do, they would advise on how the meeting is supposed to be held. Because the proxy and the ex officio, you know. A proxy, as we know, is somebody um sits in place for somebody else who can make it. And the ex officio is somebody who is there because of their office. So, for example, I'm having a department meeting with my business department, and the vice principal is there. The vice principal is not part of my department, but because of the office she holds, she may have some vital information to share in the meeting. So she's part of the meeting. She's not part of the committee because she's not part of the business department. So before she's the vice principal, she could attend the meeting. I need you to know all of these terms, please. Now let's look at formal versus informal meeting. Formal meetings have strict rules that they must follow. The rules that govern how meetings are run are called the Roberts Rule of Order, right? Formal meetings must follow that. You must take minutes, it's mandatory. Like if you have an annual general meeting, for example, and we'll go to different ones just now. You must have minutes, and you must follow the rules of meetings. Informal, not so much. Informal, they can basically do your own thing. These are some examples of formal meetings. In annual general meeting, extraordinary general meetings, board of directors, board and committee meetings, general meetings, some cases the conferences or workshops. The most important meeting here is the annual general meeting, right? The yearly mandatory meeting where they report on the performance of the company and they have voting. Before the secretary will consult with the chairperson, confirm the date and time. Also, what's not here is that they also must make sure they book the venue. Oh no, it's how to say it. Set the date, time, and the venue. Make sure and book the venue. And they click on it after you confirm it and the venue is booked and all that stuff. Then you circulate the notice and the agenda. Once the notice and agenda is circulated, then you get the necessary supplies to the meeting. Meetings, supplies. If it's large, you need a projector, you need mics, stuff like that. Now it's virtual, you have to make sure you have a device here, internet, whatever software you're gonna be using, if it's Zoom or Teams or whatever the case may be, Google Meetings, you have all of those ready. Make sure you follow the proper protocol and meeting. The formal, you have to follow the rules for the Robert's Rule of Order, like outlines exactly how meetings are supposed to run from start to finish. Once it's a formal meeting, it must abide by those rules, no matter what. If you want to speak, it's supposed to raise your hand. If you have any comments, you have to talk to the chairperson. You're not supposed to interrupt if somebody else is speaking. According to
Raise your hand if we have
sorry,
any what comments?
if you have any comments,
Yes, I'd raise your
you have
hand
to
if
raise your hand.
we had any.
Yeah, that's part of the meeting. If you have comments, you have to raise your hand. So no, there's no me telling you also raise your hand. That is me telling you what happens in the meeting. If you have any comments, like you want to say something in the meeting, you have to raise your hand please. And if somebody is speaking, the proper thing to do is not to interrupt them while they share. Where the meeting is and who's hosting the meeting, it might be as serious as before you get into the building. They check in the credentials to make sure you're actually supposed to be in the meeting. In page 3 now, you have to record everything that happens in the meeting. So you record the minutes and then you circulate the minutes after. So you're not just keeping the minutes to yourself. You have to circulate the minutes to everybody who was in the meeting after. Any decisions that was made, let's say you have people have tasks to do now, you have to make sure all tasks are executed. And then it genders and stuff like that. You have to all the files securely. Okay? I want you to make sure you learn all the terms and things that we use today. The bylaws, forum, ad hoc, adjourn, proposal, motion, resolution, the different names for the different reports, NAMR, notice agenda, minutes report. The names of the different persons, secretary, chairperson, treasurer, proxy, and ex officio. You could do timekeeper and parliamentarian, but we really asked about those. I want you to make sure and go through your formal meetings, go through the 3 phases, what happens before the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting. So our day one of office administration practices. Tomorrow we shall cover 4 to 5 more topics. And go on practice